Number 10. Mark Wahlberg. In 2013, a series of leaked court documents suggested that Tom Cruise had compared working on a film to being as intense as fighting in Afghanistan. It's safe to say that this statement did not go down well with Mark Wahlberg. Later down the line, while he was promoting his film Lone Survivor, which was based on actual events of the failed 2005 mission Operation Red Wings, where Mark played the role of a Navy SEAL. When asked about the difficulty of shooting the film, he went on an angry rant. Quote, "For actors to sit there and talk about, oh, I went to SEAL training and I slept on the floor. I don't give an F what you did. You don't do what these guys did. For somebody to sit there and say, my job was as difficult as somebody in the military's, how effing dare you, while you sit in a makeup chair for 2 hours. He added that at the end of the day, actors get to go home, go to their hotel room and order effing chicken. Tom's lawyers then jumped in very quickly and claimed that the actor was only joking, and in fact is a staunch supporter of the troops. But the tension was very clearly real. Number 9. Thandie Newton. When speaking with Vulture, Newton revealed exactly why working with Tom Cruise on the 2000 film Mission Impossible was a total nightmare. When asked why she never filmed another movie in the franchise, the actress said, "Oh, I was never asked. I was so scared of Tom. He was a very dominant individual. He tries super hard to be a nice person." She described him as really stressed and dominant, recounting an incident on set in which she and Cruise attempted to finish a night scene on the balcony. Quote, "I don't think it was a very well written scene. I get angry with him, we're frustrated at each other, and Tom made a decision at the very beginning of the movie, unbeknownst certainly to me, that he didn't speak English, which I think was very helpful to him, but it was extremely unhelpful to the rest of us." Thandie went on to say that Tom got so frustrated with her performance that it just pushed her further into a place of terror and insecurity. But despite everything, Thandie insisted that she doesn't think poorly of Tom as a person. Quote, "He wasn't horrible, it was just that he was really stressed. But the pressure, he takes on a lot. I think he has this sense that only he can do everything as best as it can be done." Number 8. Brooke Shields. Telling women what they can and can't wear is one way to make yourself extremely unpopular among the female demographic, but telling them how to give birth is a different kind of insult entirely. Just ask Brooke Shields after she had to deal with public shaming from Tom Cruise, who went on the record criticizing her decision to use antidepressants to help her with postpartum depression. Quote, "When someone says medication has helped them, it is to cope. It didn't cure anything. There is no science. There is nothing that can cure them whatsoever." And if that wasn't condescending enough for you, he added, "I care about Brooke Shields because I think she's an incredibly talented woman, but look at where her career has gone." But Brooke was not having it and took the opportunity to stand up for herself and new mothers everywhere. She said, "Tom should stick to saving the world from aliens and let women who are experiencing postpartum depression decide what treatment options are best for them." Adding that, "I'm going to take a wild guess and say that Mr. Cruise has never suffered from postpartum depression." She called his comments a disservice to mothers everywhere and said that if any good can come of Mr. Cruise's ridiculous rants, let's hope that it gives much needed attention to a serious disease. Number 7. Brad Pitt. Although the two A-list actors have a lot in common, especially when it comes to their careers, they allegedly couldn't be more at odds with each other. In fact, rumors have it that they have been feuding for 25 years, and it all started with one movie, 1994's Interview with a Vampire. The hit horror film where both actors had starring roles really ignited their resentment for one another. And even though the film was nominated for an Oscar and a Golden Globe upon its release, Brad said that he was miserable on set and that Tom being there certainly didn't help. And when asked about his co-star in an interview, Brad did not bother to hold back his feelings at all. Quote, "He bugged me. There came a point during filming when I started really resenting him. He's North Pole, I'm South. He's always coming at you with a handshake whereas I may bump into you. There was this underlying competition that got in the way of any real conversation." Fast forward to 2009, when both actors were starring in World War II dramas, Brad in Inglourious Basterds and Tom in Valkyrie. Not only was Brad's film way better received, but to add insult to injury, he reportedly called Tom's film a ridiculous movie. Number 6. Nicole Kidman. Although it's been over for decades, Nicole Kidman's marriage to Tom Cruise is still one of Hollywood's most talked about relationships. But at the time of meeting, he was still married to Mimi Rogers. Tom eventually divorced his first wife in February February of 1990, and less than 1 year later, he exchanged vows with Nicole. They even adopted 2 children, Isabella Jane and Connor Anthony, and eventually went on to make 2 more movies together as a couple. But as we all know, their marriage was far from perfect, and they ended up splitting up a decade later in 2001. Looking back on the divorce, Nicole said, quote, "I was so young when I got married. I look back now and I'm like, what?" She told Red Magazine that she felt isolated during her marriage, and even when she won an Oscar, she described it as, "I was holding a gold statue and I was the loneliest I'd ever been." The divorce took Nicole by surprise, and it got very messy very quickly with the custody battle. In the end, Tom allegedly turned her children against her, as he was granted full custody of their kids, and ended up raising both of them to be Scientologists. But despite all the heartbreak, nothing beats that iconic photo of Nicole leaving her attorney's office, jumping for joy after their divorce was finalized. Number 5. Alec Baldwin. Another celebrity who has had no trouble calling out Tom Cruise was fellow actor Alec Baldwin in 2009. The Dirty Rock star hosted Elle Magazine's Women in Hollywood dinner and award show, and what he said had even Tom's wife at the time, Katie Holmes, laughing along with everyone. The actor joked about coming up with a solution to the disproportionate salaries between men and women in Hollywood, and then seemingly came up with an idea to solve the pay gap. Quote, "I believe we can balance the scales if Tom Cruise would lower his quote by a mere $29 million. I realize this may be a little bit unfair since he's not here to defend himself, and I really don't want to put all of this on one man, but if I had to, that man would be Tom Cruise." He went on to assure the audience that his own salary was nothing compared to Tom's. In fact, his annual salary, as he said, is the budget from mints that were featured in one of his movies. But as the saying goes, there really is a grain of truth in every joke. According to Variety, the actor is expected to earn $100 million or more from his new movie Top Gun Maverick, which would be one of the biggest paydays for an actor for a single movie ever. Number 4. Leah Remini. A former longtime Scientologist, King of Queens star Leah Remini opened up about her experiences in the church in her 2015 memoir Troublemaker, much to the disdain of Tom Cruise. In her book, Leah also made some shocking allegations about several well-known Hollywood celebrities. In fact, she recalled a time that she and her husband, Angelo, spent time at Tom Cruise's Beverly Hills mansion when he invited a group of well-known Scientologists and other celebrities including Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. He announced to all the guests that he wanted to play hide and seek and pressured everyone to join in. Remini also explained another bizarre incident when Tom had a meltdown over cookies. Quote, "Once he wanted to make cookies, and there was a package of pre-packaged cookie dough on the counter. He asked, 'Guys, where's the cookie stuff?' Tom seemed like a child who had never been told no, and he screamed at his assistant." And when Top Gun Maverick came out, Remini cautioned fans about supporting him, saying, "Don't let the movie star charm fool you. And no, I will not watch the movie, nor will I ever support or approve of this scam of a man." So she's clearly not one to forgive or forget. Number 3. Katie Holmes. Back in 2012, the former Hollywood power couple Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes announced to the world that they were getting a divorce after 6 years of marriage. News of the A-list split sent shockwaves through the world of show business and sparked waves of rumors and speculation as to why the pair decided to call it quits. After a whirlwind romance, the couple got married in a luxurious Italian wedding ceremony and welcomed their first child together, Suri Cruz. So their divorce came as a shock to everyone. The major reason was allegedly Katie's aversion to raising their daughter in Scientology. Tom basically confirmed this during a 2013 deposition, admitting that this was one of the reasons that his ex-wife filed for divorce. He also revealed that his daughter, Suri, who was just 7 years old at the time, was no longer a practicing member of the Church of Scientology. This was a pretty surprising admission, considering that those who leave the religion are often cut off from other practicing members, which is probably why Katie won sole custody of Suri, which reportedly included ironclad rulings that she would not be exposed to anything Scientology related. And to this day, it appears as though the former couple aren't exactly on good terms, as Tom reportedly hasn't even seen his daughter in years. Number 2. Mickey Rourke. In a new interview with Piers Morgan Uncensored, the boxer turned actor was asked about Tom Cruise, and he made it quite clear that he wasn't a fan at all. It was mentioned that his new movie, Top Gun Maverick, made over $1 billion at the box office, and Rourke said said, "That doesn't mean jack to me. This guy's been doing the same effing part for 35 years. I got no respect for that." Rourke went on to list some of the actors whose careers he does enjoy and admire, unlike Tom's. And when Morgan asked whether or not he thinks of Cruise as a good actor, Rourke just said, "I think he's irrelevant in my world." And back in 2005, when Tom criticized Brooke Shields for taking antidepressants, Mickey spoke out against him then. Quote, "My therapist saved my effing life and my career. I don't care what Tom Cruise says about therapy. F him." Picking on poor Brooke Shields. People need medicine and they need therapists. Let the Scientologists go effing live on a planet of their own. He was referring to the fact that Scientologists strictly oppose psychiatry and therapy as it goes against their core beliefs. So he's made it pretty clear that he doesn't think very highly of the Hollywood star. And coming in at number 1, John Travolta. Both are active, high-ranking members of the Church of Scientology, but it has been since revealed that the two are not exactly friends. The truth came out when a former bodyguard from the church, Brendan Teague, revealed in 2018 that John Travolta was furious when Tom achieved the highest honor in the organization in 2008. He was awarded the Freedom Medal of Valor from the leader of the organization, David Miscavige. This award is only given to its most dedicated member. John was also said to be frustrated over the fact that Tom has become a major player in the church, and to this day is one of the best known members in the world. Brendan Teague claimed that this event left Travolta feeling extremely jealous. Eventually he grew so angry that he decided to express himself and wrote a scathing letter to Miscavige, which reportedly included the question, "What the hell was this medal all about?" The reason being is that the actor believed himself to be the most dedicated member of the church, and had allegedly introduced more members than any other celebrity. So when he was passed over for the award, John began to despise Tom. It didn't help that only 2 years earlier, John wasn't invited to Tom's wedding with Katie Holmes, so their relationship was already rocky to begin with.
Number 10, Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie was the Harley Quinn to Leto's Mr. J back in the Suicide Squad days, but they most definitely were not as close off screen as they were on screen. A lot of people believe that he took his role as the Joker way too far. Being the first Joker since Heath Ledger, he had massive shoes to fill, and that may have gotten to his head a little bit. I don't know. Although he is known as a method actor, wherein he extends a personification of his character beyond the screen and into real life, he ended up doing some pretty harmful stuff to his co-star Margot Robbie. In fact, he sent the actor a live rat to her on set, apparently in an effort to better personify the Joker. There's absolutely no way she was happy about that, given she's an extremely professional actor and also who likes getting gifted a rat. Number 9, Will Smith. Will Smith is another Suicide Squad co-star who got caught in the craziness of the Jared Leto Joker personification. In fact, he may have gotten it worse, because he was gifted, along with a few others, a dead pig. You heard me right, Will Smith, the A-list actor, got gifted a dead pig. I guess he was trying to make people feel unsettled and uncomfortable with him as a person in hopes that it would translate to how they interacted with the Joker while on screen, but all it did was backfire on Jared Leto. Although he was featured very heavily in the trailer for the movie due to his insane antics, his screen time was cut all the way down to 10 minutes and he was barely featured at all when the movie finally came out. Will Smith also gave comment to Margot receiving her gift of the rat. When he first met Jared, he said, quote, "This dude walks in and says, 'I got a message from Mr. J,' and he puts a box down in front of Margot, being like, 'This is a gift from Mr. J in honor of your relationship.' Margot starts to open the box and there's a note from the Joker. And I was like, that's cool, that's funny. Jared is like taking it real serious. And Margot opened the box and there was a live rat in the box. I was playing Deadshot, but if I had pearls on, I would have clutched them." He even showed his own personal distaste for the character with, quote, "We all shared some really deep stories about ourselves and our pains and our triumphs. And then on set, you thought he was being a nice guy and you were trying to share your life, and then in the middle of a scene he throws your childhood trauma back at you and says, 'Dude, the Joker did it.'" Number 8, Robert Pattinson. Although he didn't name Jared Leto specifically, it is pretty obvious who Robert Pattinson was shading during an interview, and that was none other than Jared Leto. While discussing how he got into the headspace to film The Lighthouse, a psychological thriller, he said he would be exhausted leaving the set. This was all during the time of people criticizing Jared Leto, so it seemed really pointed when Pattinson said, quote, "I always say about people who do method acting, you only ever see people do the method when they're playing assholes. You never see someone being lovely to everyone while they're really deep in character." Number 7, Taylor Swift. There's no way that Taylor Swift's army took kindly to Jared Leto dissing their beloved singer. TMZ released a video of the Oscar winner critiquing the young singer's music. In the clip, Leto and his 30 Seconds to Mars bandmates listened to tracks from Taylor's album 1989. After playing some of her songs, the actor quickly became disenchanted by her and really aggressive. He exclaims, quote, "F*** her, I don't give a f*** about her. Although Taylor Swift never commented on the anger directed at her, her fans sure did. Jared immediately got pummeled online, and in an extremely rare response to criticism, Jared tweeted out, quote, "The truth is, I think Taylor Swift is amazing and an incredible example of what's possible. If I hurt her or her fans, my sincerest apologies." I don't know, man, or you can just not be mean for no reason. Number 6, Cara Delevingne. Cara Delevingne is another Jared Leto victim from her time on Suicide Squad. Playing the baddie of the movie Enchantress, she almost did a better job of playing a villain than he did. But Jared's weirdo method acting behavior waits for no man, and so as a wrap party gift, he gave Cara used condoms and toys meant for, intimacy. She did not take too kindly to the gifts, obviously, especially because Cara had a rumored fling with Jared 4 years prior to the release of their movie together. Number 5, Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix was another actor to step into the role of the Joker in a later standalone movie. He was one of the best to do it in my opinion, although I don't think anyone can top Heath Ledger. But Joaquin apparently almost got stripped of the movie role because of Jared Leto. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Jared was under the impression that his initial stunt as the Joker would lead to many more movie roles, and there were talks about Jared being the Joker in the movie Joaquin would end up starring in. But likely due to making everyone uncomfortable and unsafe, none of those roles came to fruition. When he got wind that Joaquin Phoenix would be taking on the role to tell the supervillain's origin story, Jared reportedly felt, quote, alienated and upset. In response to the news, Jared actually attempted to stop the new production from happening. The outlet claims that he complained about the movie to both his agents and CAA, and even tried to contact Warner Bros. Partner company to get the movie pulled, obviously to no success. Considering it seems Jared has burned most of his bridges with anyone involved in the DC universe, don't expect him to return as the Joker in any capacity anytime soon, though you'll be able to watch Joaquin probably reprise his role in a sequel. Number 4, Viola Davis. Although Jared Leto makes tons of people uncomfortable while on the set of the Joker, none were as outspoken about how upset it made them like Viola Davis was. In an interview with Entertainment News, Viola said that she was less than pleased with a box of bullets that Leto sent her while on set for the comic book adaptation. Quote, "It was a little worrisome. It made you a little nervous, and I'm pretty tough. I got into a few fights when I was growing up, but it scared me a little bit." She then said that she only ever really met Jared after filming ended because he was in character the entire time they were on set. Quote, "Before that, I was only introduced to the Joker, and I almost had my pepper spray out. You remember the bullets you sent me? He gave very interesting gifts. I did not receive any personally, or else I would have got my husband, who was called Headache Ball back in the day when he played football, and I would have said, take care of the Joker." I almost wish he did send her a gift now just to see how that drama would unfold. Number 3, Cameron Diaz. Not many women have had long-lasting relationships with Jared Leto, except for one woman, Cameron Diaz. They were initially linked back in 1999, and a lot of people suspected that Jared was a rebound for Cameron, who just broke up with her previous boyfriend of a year. Despite maintaining a low-profile relationship, news circulated in 2000 that the couple were engaged. Cameron was spotted with a $15,000 ring at the 2003 Golden Globe Awards. That being said, Cameron was always very hesitant to talk about her relationship with Jared, saying that she didn't want to jinx it. But I guess no need, because the two broke up in 2003. Although she never commented on the relationship directly, she did make hints to Jared being awful to her. Quote, "My rule is that there are no tricks in this game. I believe in honesty and communication and in treating people the way you want to be treated. Love should be unconditional." And for his part too, Jared had admitted that he, quote, wasn't very nice to her. Whatever that means. Number 2, Dylan Sprouse. Dylan Sprouse, the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody star, very publicly came for Jared Leto's throat back in 2018 when he tweeted out, quote, "Yo, Jared Leto, now that you've slid into the DMs of every female model aged 18 to 25, what would you say your success rate is?" Jared has a history of liking women who are much, much younger than him, and Dylan is coming for his throat. Maybe someone close to him got a particularly creepy DM, but either way, he was not having any of his nonsense. The tweet garnered almost 50,000 likes. Although Jared Leto nor his team have made any attempt to reply or even give any mention to the tweet, a lot of users did seem to suggest that there was an open secret about Jared Leto only liking barely legal girls. And lastly, James Gunn, the director of Suicide Squad. In a now deleted tweet that was a reply to Dylan Sprouse's shade posted after he had filmed Suicide Squad, James very not so subtly hinted at some very serious allegations. In response to Dylan's tweet, James Gunn said, quote, "He starts at 18 on the internet." James Gunn insinuating that Jared Leto tries hooking up with underage fans is extremely off base, and comes as no surprise to those who follow the actor after he was accused of being inappropriate with multiple teenage fans.
First up, of course, we have Mariah Carey. Even if you're not familiar with many of J.Lo's feuds, I'm sure you know that Mariah Carey hates her. That's because Mariah has not been shy about throwing shade in her direction. These two have been feuding ever since J.Lo started to make music, and started to steal her shine. Then when Mariah was asked about Lopez in an interview, she famously replied, quote, "I don't know her." Years later, when Andy Cohen brought up the beef on his show Watch What Happens Live in 2014, Jennifer Lopez played the whole thing off, saying, quote, "I don't have a feud against her at all. I know from back in the day, I've read things that she said about me that were not the greatest, but we have never met. Like, we don't know each other. I would love to meet her, and I would love to be friends with her." But then J.Lo was a little more savage on the Wendy Williams show when asked about the feud in 2016. Lopez said, quote, "She's forgetful, I guess. We've met so many times." But Carrie doubled down in another interview where she added that she still doesn't know Jennifer Lopez. When Mariah had a mishap of her own during a disastrous New Year's Eve performance, Lopez took a break from the high road and liked an extremely shady tweet about Mariah. The tweet said, quote, "Ever seen an accident you couldn't take your eyes away from? That was her tonight." If you're wondering where this feud started, it all goes back to Mariah's ex-husband and music executive, Tommy Mottola. After getting married in 1993, Carrie divorced Mottola in 1998 because he was very controlling. And to get back at her, Mottola started up J.Lo's career and did everything possible to make J.Lo a star, instead of Mariah. J.Lo sampled a number of Mariah-esque songs. There were even allegations she straight up copied some of Mariah's songs, but tried to make them more of a hit. All because of Mottola. But Mariah knows she still came out on top, adding, quote, "After all that shit, Loverboy ended up being the best-selling single of 2001 in the United States." So basically the whole feud is over career competition and the fact that Lopez was in cahoots with Carrie's controlling ex. Rosie Perez. You'd think that J.Lo and Rosie Perez would be great friends, considering how much they have in common. Both women are dancers, are Puerto Rican, and grew up in New York. But the pair are not close, and it would be more accurate to say that they actually hate each other. According to Perez's 2014 memoir, Handbook for an Unpredictable Life, she has plenty of negative stories to share about J.Lo. In her memoir, Perez shared a story from the set of In Living Color. She wrote about Lopez, quote, "All of the girls were coming into my office complaining how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me, all to her advantage," and added she was acting like, quote, "some ghetto bitch," screaming and pounding her chest. J.Lo ended up leaving that show after 2 seasons, but the feud between the pair continued, and Perez claimed that Lopez would speak negatively about her whenever she got the chance. Even worse, Lopez was allegedly two-faced. She would talk trash behind Perez's back, but be nice to her face. Brandy. In the midst of the Mariah and J.Lo feud, Brandy publicly supported Mariah, making it clear she does not like J.Lo. In July of 2017, Brandy took to Instagram to share a photo of herself hugging Mariah Carey with the caption, #SheKnows Me, an obvious reference to Mariah's infamous "I don't know her" comment about J.Lo. All the comments were flooded with people speculating over the caption, and the consensus quickly became that the photo was a dig at J.Lo. However, Brandy later addressed the caption, writing, quote, "Oh my god, what happened? I swear to goodness, I didn't know what the fuss is about. I love this pic and now everyone thinks I'm throwing shade. At who? This is funny. Can't take this one down. I love this picture and whenever I'm throwing shade, it's not questionable, you know that I am." Later adding that Mariah does in fact know her. Mariah supported the post by commenting, quote, "I sure do." Even though Brandy is trying to convince us it's nothing shady, I honestly don't believe it. Next up, Nicki Minaj. It's long been rumored that Jennifer Lopez is a huge diva, and the fight that her and Nicki Minaj had while on American Idol brought up both of their diva sides. In 2012, Lopez was a judge on American Idol while Nicki came on to perform, and things got tense fast. After Nicki finished performing, she went over to the judges table and asked, quote, "I was hoping maybe I could come back and be a guest judge. J.Lo, can you scoot over a little bit?" J.Lo then responded, quote, "I don't know if there's enough room for both of us." Then Minaj took it up another notch backstage when she said, quote, "She didn't seem to be having it, but she's gonna have it." But she later added, quote, "We were just joking around." But it's clear the bad blood is still there. When Lopez performed at the 2015 AMAs, she sang a part of Minaj's song Anaconda. But I don't think Nicki got the memo that it was going to be happening, because when the camera panned to Nicki, she did not look happy. Fans totally saw the shade and started tweeting about it that night. Rihanna. Rihanna and J.Lo started feuding right around the time that J.Lo was seen getting cozy with Rihanna's ex, Drake. This all happened in 2016 when J.Lo and Drake took a photo backstage at J.Lo's concert. Once the photos came out, everyone assumed that they were dating, which probably got the attention of his exes. A lot of fans felt the whole thing was most likely a publicity stunt, but Rihanna took the rumors pretty seriously and lashed out online because of it. A source said at the time that Rihanna suffered, quote, "the ultimate betrayal," and dubbed Lopez desperate and a traitor. This was because Rihanna and J.Lo were really tight at one point, and Rihanna even got support from J.Lo during rough times with Drake. Then in December of 2016, Rihanna unfollowed J.Lo on Instagram, making her stance very clear. Jenna Dewan. When the pair starred alongside each other on World of Dance, they seemed like they got along great. Lopez was a producer and a judge, while Dewan was a host and mentor on the show. But sources revealed that when the camera stopped rolling, the women hated each other. One source said about their relationship, quote, "Jenna can't stand Jen's over-the-top theatrical fakery. Jen never fails to ham it up when the cameras are rolling, and she hijacks the show. It seems she'd prefer if Jenna just stayed in the background." The insider continued that J.Lo is a micromanager who tells everyone else what to do. Because of all her input, Jenna felt excluded and felt like her voice was not heard. Although there is a chance that this feud is not accurate, because when Dewan's team was asked about the feud rumors, they denied them. Ojani Noa. Jennifer Lopez has been married 3 times before. Her first and shortest marriage was to Cuban waiter Ojani Noa. Although their relationship ended in 1998, it's clear that Noa cannot stand her, and whenever asked about Lopez, he does not hold back his negative feelings. Back in 2006, he was actually set to release a juicy tell-all book about Lopez called The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller. But before it was set to be published, Lopez was able to stop it with a lawsuit. She argued that publishing the book broke their confidentiality agreement, and the courts agreed. From that lawsuit, she won $545,000 in damages, and Noa was forbid from criticizing or casting in a negative light or otherwise disparaging Lopez. Noa's name was brought up once again when he threatened to leak an intimate tape of the two of them on their honeymoon. Lopez then filed a $10 million lawsuit against him. When asked why the relationship ended, Noa blamed Lopez, saying, quote, "I was looking forward to being with her for the rest of my life. It didn't happen. She made the choice of her career instead of me." And finally, Jennifer Lopez herself. Nobody has done more to warn us about J.Lo's sketchy behavior than herself. And some of the things she's done in the past are too terrible to ignore. Back when she tried to score a role in competition with actress Claire Danes, J.Lo said some harsh things about her competition, saying that Claire Danes does the quote, "same thing with every character she does." Then Lopez bashed Winona Ryder, saying that she was not a big fan of her work. And finally, Lopez took aim at Gwyneth Paltrow, saying, quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Then in a different interview, Lopez decided to take aim at Madonna, specifically bashing Madonna's attempt at acting. Quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Aside from dishing out unnecessary shade to other celebrities, Lopez also has a reputation for being incredibly rude to service people. One United Airlines employee told the press how much of a diva she was during her flight. Apparently, he asked if she wanted a drink, and she replied, quote, "I just said, what can I get you to drink?" But Jennifer refused to even acknowledge me. She turned her head away and told her personal assistant, "Please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and lime." Even though the stewardess was trying to serve her what she wanted, she refused to look, and made her assistant speak for her. It's so ridiculous and an unnecessary power play. But this interaction is nothing compared to the maid that was fired for asking J.Lo for an autograph. The maid later spoke with media and said she asked J.Lo's 2 assistants, who rejected the autograph. Then a day later, the hotel said that Lopez complained about the incident, and that maid was fired.